Today we're on our way to Bridge of Ayr Farm, which actually sits just inside the town of Stranraer, and it is farmed and run by the Love family, who have a great love for their cows. You're watching the Hoof GP on one of my very favourite farms.
And I won't let it rush when I see you dance, and the moment comes when I fall and time goes slow. I fall into you.
Setting off from my home here on the shores of Wigtown Bay in the shadow of Wigtown itself, there's a definite feeling that spring is in the air. This is our destination for today though, the town of Stranraer, and a beautiful little farm owned by the Love family, which I've been going to for almost 15 years. I travel to this farm around 4 times a year, and always look forward to the event and the inevitable crack that comes with it.
Stay true to that fire in your heart and your soul.
So when we come to this farm, we've no idea how many cows we're going to be trimming. Usually around 25. These are Friesian cows, so like the ones you usually see us trimming, they are Holstein Friesians. Friesians are slightly smaller, more traditional cows, and inherently have better feet. And this farm is no different. They look after their feet incredibly well. We only come here a couple of times a year because when they do have a lameness issue, the father at this farm, Andrew, picks the cow's feet up and sees to it himself. So we only really come here a couple of times a year just to sort of top them up. And these are the girls that we're trimming today. I'm a little bit confused. I can't quite remember how we usually get the crush off. I think I put the nose of the tractor truck up there and reverse down, take the crush off, and then push into place. So that's what I'm going to do today.
Don't say you're ridiculous, you're not even close. Don't wish for indifference, you're not one of those. We fall, but we always rise up through it all. We get a little wiser.
Talking about when it's crying and hot on the sweat day. Make sure you get all this in.
Trust and letting go. It takes a bit of suffering, sleepless nights and wondering before you make it safely to the end.
I really think a lot of my customers, and consider most of them friends, so when I first turn up to a farm that I've not been to in a while, it's usually a chance for a good catch up.
That's usually the case, yes. I haven't missed a week at the gym for 15 months now, 3 times a week.
Yeah, Graham going on about how he works out like 3 times a week. He's stronger than he's ever been.
It has been raining, so you've got to do that TikTok.
Despite the necessity of catching up and chatting away, the order of the day is work, and we do have quite a few cows to get through before the afternoon milking, so we get set up as quickly as we possibly can before we can start the job of the day, trimming.
We like to park the pickup right in the middle of the farmyard so that the cows can scratch their bums on it or dent a wing or whatever. It keeps them entertained while they're waiting to go back to the shed. Sometimes they're not always too keen.
The Love family know their cows extremely well, so it's really handy having them on hand like this to give us little tidbits of information about the history of the cows, whether or not they have been lame in the past, whether or not they are currently lame, or if they've always been pretty good on their feet or not. This first cow is slightly overgrown on her outside or lateral claw. I need to rebalance it to make sure it's about the same size as that inner claw. A cow should spread her weight evenly across both claws, If she bears too much pressure on one claw, it will become bruised, and eventually that bruise will turn into an ulcer, and the ulceration becomes an issue of lameness.
Have you met Graham before? Some people in the comments on Facebook and YouTube think he's either Croatian, Romanian, Welsh,
Gaelic.
Why is that?
Maybe you can understand me.
Where are you from then?
Where do you come from?
Oh, Kirkconnell?
Aye.
Right, okay, well, no.
If you hadn't realised it already, humour here in southwest Scotland is pretty much a way of life. In fact, the entire west coast of Scotland thrives on dark humour. If we're not making fun of each other, it's probably because we either don't know each other all that well, or don't really like each other. So trust me when I say it's all in jest, and it's all light-hearted. I see some people in the comments sometimes take it the wrong way, and trust me, it's not intended that way.
I think that's a bit of a stretch of terminology for him. Somebody did ask if he was part of a care and community project.
I know they did.
Really?
Aye, that's true. Aye.
And another one said, does cameraman Graham have learning difficulties? P.S. He's got lovely eyes.
Aye, I'm
What are
like,
you basing this on? Like, are you actually in some of the videos then?
aye,
Oh,
now
right,
and again.
okay.
He pets me and takes a now and again, so does.
It could be true. So look how good these cows' feet are. That's partly because they've got a higher fat content. So they've got a thicker digital cushion which really protects the base of the foot. But they also walk slightly further than a lot of the cows that we see on this channel, so they wear their feet a little bit more evenly, which helps massively.
It may seem very obvious to state, but good hoof health is the absolute foundation and base of any herd of cows. If they can't walk pain-free and comfortable, they will never truly thrive. They will never put weight on, they will never be very fertile, and they will never be highly productive. So having cows' feet like this is an absolute necessity. Although it may not seem like it, I am working to a strategy. The Dutch method of hoof trimming, or functional hoof trimming as they call it. We correct the entire length of the toes. We make sure they are balanced evenly between them. Then we model out the inner portion of the foot before correcting any problems the cow may have. We want this model as wide as we possibly can because that will take weight off the pedal bone below. And after that, we remove any loose and detached hoof horn from around the heel bulbs and let the cow go before moving on to the next one. I'm acutely aware that it may seem like myself and Craigie Boy are not doing all that much to these cows' feet, and that is absolutely correct. But the small amounts of changes and rebalancing that we are doing is hugely valuable to these cows. It makes them more comfortable and happier living, which in turn makes them more profitable for the farmers. Plus, we can detect early signs of lameness and alleviate those problems from ever truly materialising into a painful episode, and that is what is truly important and gratifying about this work. Craigie Boy's knife looks razor sharp, and he seems pretty happy about it, doesn't he?
I wonder who sharpened these knives. It was me.
This may sound like a bit of an idiotic or back to front saying, but it doesn't really matter what you take away from a cow's foot. What truly matters is what you leave behind, what you've left her with to walk on. And if you look closely at Craig's trim here, he doesn't trim any height away from this cow's heels. As you can see, she has worn her feet well and truly on the heel area. So if he was to make that heel area nice and white, it would look pretty on camera, but it wouldn't be functional for her. We want to get her foot angled back. We want her to stand more up on her toes so that she truly walks comfortably and is at less risk of getting ulcers.
I hate to toot my own horn, but there's some good looking feet right there.
You're learning.
After 5 years I should be.
That's right, Craig is my brother-in-law, and 5 years ago I started to employ him. He had barely ever seen a dairy cow, let alone trimmed a cow's hoof. And just look at him now, a truly professional hoof trimmer who's fantastic at his job. It gives me a massive sense of pride to know that I played a part in Craig becoming what he's become today. He truly is fantastic at his job and an asset to the farmers that we work for, never mind an asset to me. This cow's foot is a different story. As you can see, it definitely isn't as pretty as the last few we've seen. She has a white line defect, something that we are going to have to work on to fix. This is not an incredibly painful problem, but it is one that can definitely materialise into a very serious issue if we don't deal with it properly right now.
You see, all the feet are very well looked after here, but they still have problems. You can hear them in the background here chasing the cows in, and they're having a little bit of trouble and strife. Yeah, little problems like this can materialise into really big problems if they're not looked after at this time of year. The moisture in the atmosphere softens their feet and makes them much more, makes them much more liable to these kinds of problems. And capturing them at times is how you get a herd of cows with as overall good feet as this. Right.
This is an old white line injury for this cow. The yellow staining is from the serums within red stuff which would have been seeping from this area when it was a substantial problem.
I think that was his blue steel.
We need to block the inner claw so that that outer one doesn't regress back to how it was a couple of months ago by the looks of it. This is a case of prevention rather than cure. It's actually already been cured and we're preventing it from happening again. As is very regularly the case on this channel, her back right foot mirrors her back left foot, and she has an almost identical problem, but it's to a slightly greater degree. You can clearly see the gouge out of her wall horn from this angle. That wall horn is the structural part of her foot, so if it's not there and fully intact, then it can't possibly hold up her foot in a truly convincing way. The wall horn needs to be exceptionally strong to be able to withstand the weight of the cow above it. Again, we're going to need to apply a block, and we're going to trim out as much of this cracked and detached hoof horn as we possibly can. These cracks will just continue to crack, they will continue to be a problem, and they will track all the way up to her white line and cause an even greater issue than they are already. You could tell that this cow has been treated multiple times before now, and that's why it has almost healed. You can just see in the very heart of the problem that her corium is slightly on show. It's a very small but very important problem that we need to fix.
Yes, I was. Still got another month before I hit 42.
You'll soon be older than me then.
I'm 42 now. Just 6 months old.
This next cow easily has the longest foot of the day, and actually probably the longest foot I've ever seen on this farm. When a cow has overgrown toes like this, I instantly assume that there's a problem in the toe area. It's not because she's actually overgrown, it's more that she's underworn. I assume that she's walking on the heel of her foot to avoid using the toe, because that is where her problem is. However, I'm not always right, as we're possibly about to be shown. Carefully, I reduce the entire size of this outer claw. I'm being as careful as I can and constantly reanalyzing the foot as I go. Her axial wall is even overgrown as well, so I trimmed that back. You can clearly see the red and purple bruising because this foot has been overloaded. Usually, I would have found a problem by now in the toe area of this cow, but it doesn't seem to be materializing. Not that that's a bad thing. Sometimes cows just don't walk fantastically well. Sometimes they've had some sort of issue with inflammation in the ankle, and that can mean that the foot doesn't conform to the natural walking habits of a cow, and therefore she doesn't wear her feet in the same way a usual cow would. And again, that's what causes issues. The overloading of this lateral claw has clearly caused this bruising, and if we weren't to intervene right now, it would surely lead to lameness. But thankfully, we've got to it in time, and this bruising hasn't become a major issue. In fact, this has turned out to be a pretty good looking foot, even if I do say so myself. Once again, here we are with mirrored back feet. This back right foot is also overgrown and therefore also bruised, but this time she has a bit of a crack in her white line, and I'm keen to investigate it and make sure that it doesn't go any further than first meets the eye. There's some cracking wall horn, so I remove it with the blade of my grinder and then reduce the entire portion of the wall horn where the cracking is. Usually the lateral or outer claw on the back feet is where we find the problems, but this cow's foot is hiding a problem I truly wasn't expecting. You just never know what is around the corner when you're trimming a cow's foot, and I was concentrating on the outer claw and almost completely missed the fact that this foot has an entire delaminated sole, one that needs to be removed. At some point, this hoof has had severe inflammation, an episode of lameness that has then subsided. During the episode of lameness and inflammation, the hoof horn has stopped growing, it stopped being constructed, and then once the inflammation and the lameness episode have subsided, it has started to regrow. But there's been a detachment, a break in the consistency of the formation of hoof horn, and that has led to this double sole. The yellow hoof horn we can see being revealed is very thin and fragile, and she won't be able to carry the full weight of herself on that hoof horn. So we're going to need to block that outer claw, which is why I'm very thankful that I didn't remove any more of the wall horn than I absolutely needed to. This foot is far worse than I first thought. Clearly I saw that little crack towards the toe of her foot, but I hadn't for 1 second thought that it would be to this extent. It's actually starting to reach up the outer wall horn, and now I'm starting to worry the problem is even worse than it looks now. I'm hoping that when the hoof horn started to regrow and form properly, that it has been consistent, and that my grinder is about to be fruitful in its efforts to remove the detached hoof horn and not find a further problem. As carefully as I possibly can, I feather away the outer layers of hoof horn before giving up with the grinder and reaching for the knife to remove those last fragments of hoof horn. This is the area I'm concerned with. We call it Zone 2 in this claw, and it's where a lot of the problems occur from being banged or from fighting with other cows. You can see the heart of the issue, but it is on the path to recovery. So I prepare the outer claw, ready to take my block. I heat it to get rid of any hoof oil that's on the surface and allow my glue to heat properly, before getting annoyed with Craig.
You make a cup of tea?
Did you grudge me it?
No way are you making that and no coffee.
Did you grudge me it?
Where's the coffee?
Did you grudge me it?
I have.
Because you just made a hoof trimming in it. Did
Did you make us coffee?
Is it latte time?
It is for us, Kaylee, aye. I can't believe you just made a cup of coffee and tea without making us one.
I'll make you one if you want.
I feel like you asked me a minute ago and I said, I'd like a coffee actually. I hinted at me even when made it sell you.
He was hinting to Graham and then he went and made himself one.
I made you an earlier on tea.
I'm well cold. That's why I made it.
I'm freezing today.
We're roasting Craig. Who needs enemies, eh? Really wasn't expecting this under that foot, but it's looking pretty good. Lovely.
Alright.
Just sitting here with coffee. Sorry, were you cold as well?
Yes,
He did finally make me one, although apparently I bullied him into it. If I get a coffee, I get a coffee though, right?
We work hard, and yes, we laugh and we joke. But what we never joke about, what couldn't be more serious, is our care for these cows' feet. Take this one for example. She only has small cracks, but to her, they're there every second of every day, and small cracks can lead to major issues. So just this very simple, very quick trim that isn't graphic or particularly entertaining is incredibly important to this cow. It can mean the difference between a comfortable life or one of pain and misery. A few seconds of a powerful grinder, a few swipes of a razor-sharp knife, and the difference for her on a day-to-day basis is night and day. What a job to do. I absolutely love it.
Kaylee's brought me a coffee too, I think. Right. I'm not going to tell you that Craig made me one.
Oh, well.
I'm really glad that you did.
Young Graham, I got you too.
Young, what?
Ah, nice.
Welsh Graham.
Oh, Graham will maybe need you in though.
Thank you, Kaylee. Thank you. Ashley gives me in trouble every time I come to Stranraer because I have to stop and get a coffee because it's the best coffee in Stranraer. It is, and I know you don't make it, but
It's the milk that makes the coffee.
it's the milk that makes the coffee. It's the milk that makes the coffee. Yeah. Oh, I honestly do stop every single time. You're only trying to stop in case somebody's there and you'll get a bit of gossip. And I'm like, that's a bonus. Come on. And this is cow 85.
So here's a little test to see who's been watching this channel for the longest. Cow 85 first appeared on our screens back in 2021, almost 5 years ago. Back then, she had a problem on that outer claw, where you can see that cracking area where a typical sole ulcer should be. But it wasn't my screen that she first appeared on. The Love family featured on a BBC programme called This Farming Life. And this cow had a massive ulcer sticking out the bottom of her foot right here. That is almost 5 years ago, and you can still see the remnants of where that problem once was. It continues to be a slight issue, but because the Loves are diligent and get me to trim this cow a couple of times every year, then she has stayed lameness free since then. If you can remember that episode, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. She also has this small crack starting to appear in her white line, something that I'm hoping will disappear with a few more swipes of the knife. Luckily, it seems to be doing so, and actually, it has completely disappeared. I say it all the time, but this is exactly why this job is so gratifying. Looking after cows like this year upon year and keeping them lameness free. I only wish I could find that clip and look back at how truly lame and horrendous this hoof once looked. It just goes to show that cows truly can overcome lameness for long periods of time and continue to stay healthy. Her dew claw is also overgrown, so I take the opportunity to reduce its length with my grinder before moving on to her back right foot. This cow is aging now. Most cows stay on dairy farms for around 3.5 to 4 lactations. meaning that they have 3 or 4 calves and usually retire around the age of 6 or 7 years old. This cow is substantially older than that now because she's been well looked after, so she is still fruitful and truly productive for the farmers. She does have a little bit of bruising on this back right foot, but carving this area out with my knife as deeply as possible will alleviate that pain and stress from that part of her foot and continue to keep her lameness free. We also remove all of these loose and detached flaps of hoof horn from round about her heels. We call them fissures, and all they do is attract dirt and manure and increase the likelihood of her having digital dermatitis, something which she doesn't actually have right now, but I still spray her with this green spray to kill any lurking bacteria, just in case it starts to form a problem.
When dew claws are really long, this can easily happen. Getting caught and twisted and contorted. And because it's attracting a lot of dirt, there's dermatitis on it as well.
And as luck would have it, this is the very next cow after 85, and a very clear demonstration of why we reduce the size and length of dew claws. When they're excessively long, they hang down and can easily be bashed off sharp pieces of metal, attract dirt and manure, and harbour the bacteria that cause digital dermatitis. It's believed that dew claws are there to act like a spur, so that when cows walk through soft ground, the dew claws catch on that ground and stop their feet from sinking in too deeply. I debride all of the hoof horn from around about the lesion. I need to make sure the area is as clean as possible before I treat it with some topical spray to kill that bacteria. And just like that, this cow will be more comfortable in a few days' time, but I do need to trim the rest of her foot. You can clearly see that outer or far away claw from here is slightly higher, and therefore it is slightly bruised as well. There's also a lot of loose and detached hoof horn around her heels, and that needs to be removed as well to limit the likelihood of her contracting digital dermatitis on the back of her heels as well as her dew claws. Once all of that's done, she has pretty much had a full health check for her feet, and she can continue about her daily business and hopefully stay lameness free on this back claw.
And just like that, we have trimmed about 36 cows or so. You saw from the footage, cows on this farm are really well looked after. I've been coming to this farm for, I don't even know, 12 or 13 years maybe less, maybe more. And every year it's the same story. The cow's feet are the same. There are small little problems, but that's what they are. In fact, they're not problems. They're issues that have the potential to become problems. And that is how you end up with a herd of cows as good as the one here. I love coming here, and part of what I love about my job is working with families like the Loves here at Bridge of Ayr Farm, because they truly love what they do. They're passionate about it and they know their cows inside out. There are people around the world that think that farmers don't care about their cows. Well, the Loves, if you pardon the pun, have a real love for what they do, and it's why they've been here for so long and why they continue to do what they do. People who work as hard as them and diversify into the different things that they are now doing inspire me to be a better person, to diversify what I do as well. Hard work like this pays off for the animals that they look after and for the lives that they lead. The Loves have diversified into fantastic takeaway coffee and even better homemade cakes, something which helps me to pile on the pounds. And every time I'm in Stranraer, like what you should do from now on, I stop at Bridge of Ayr Farm and fill up on Love's amazing milkshakes and fantastic coffee. This isn't a sales pitch, but it is a plea that anytime you're in Stranraer, you stop in at Bridge of Ayr Farm on your way out and get a coffee and probably a piece of biscuit off Rocky Road, because it is
the dog's bollocks. And with milkshakes and cakes in hand, it's time for us to leave Bridge of Ayr Farm and the Loves behind and head back away from Stranraer to our home on the shores of Wicktown Bay. If you've made it all the way to the end in this video, thank you very, very much for joining us for this episode of the Hoof GP.